Hey guys, it's Brit from Energetic Arts, and it's time for Q&A. So I don't know where you're going to be when you see this, or what state you'll be in, or when and where you will be tuning in from. But today's session is a tweaking session. It's a Q&A session. Uh, Let me know that you're here on the chat if you're coming in live, and that all is well. Sound, sight, connection is all good. And pose your questions in the chat feed, and we can get started. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, start to relax. Take the time out to recenter yourself. Tune in. Tap into your center. Just breathe and relax. Let the mind unwind. Just start to relax your energy. And feel yourself expanding beyond your perceived edges. Feel the relaxed alertness of the mind. Just pay attention to what it's doing. Sensations in the body. Just start to scan your energy. Feeling what it's like. To be relaxed. bring yourself to center. Okay, so now that you're more relaxed and you're coming from a place of calm and connectedness, now is a good time to ask questions or to allow those questions to rise. And I see you're on now, Abel. Did you want to jump on and share the screen and ask questions, or did you want to do it through chat? It's up to you. I'm okay to do it either way. Okay, good. Let's do that. So just send in that speaking request and I can log you in. There we go. So while we're waiting for Abel to jump in here he goes. There he is.
Hey, Brit.
How's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Good, good.
Good.
Good to see you. I think we've got a good connection.
Same here.
You're coming smooth and fast. It's great.
Good.
So, where would you like to
Hear me
start
okay?
today?
So I think the last few times we've kind of been getting cut off on our Q&As and some weird things have been happening. I think I would like to kind of just jump in last time and continue to talk about when I'm going from a happy state to an angry state.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice those vibrations that are happening and it gets really intense. And sometimes it's really hard to determine what is going on at that time.
Okay, so let's switch it up a bit. Let's both do the Q&A today. So we'll pick the topic.
Okay.
That's the topic. The topic is I'm in a good state, everything's going great, and then I break a nail and shit hits the fan, and then I'm hulking out all over the place, and I don't know what happened, right? And so it's really good because it's so common. It happens to everyone. I don't care how enlightened you are. You're going to experience these emotions because, it's not, from my point of view at least, and I'm saying this, I've seen a lot of things, but I'm saying this as humbly as I can, is that it's not so much about getting to these higher states all the time. It's about being skilled to navigate all the states. and to find the usefulness in all of them. And so, anger and rage is a good is relative in relativity is a good state to be in if you're depressed and fearful and frozen, right? It gets you moving. It's like um, Abraham Jerry Nesta Hicks talks about the emotional scale, right? Moving up the scale. And so in the middle here is our neutral state where we get into a meditative state and we're just calm, right? Or even bored. Bored and calm are very close together, or contentment, right? And at the top, you've got joy and love and bliss, but down here, you've got fear and depression, anxiety. But above that, you've got anger. Okay, so you're just moving up and down the scale, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. That's what's going to happen to everybody. But obviously, where I think you're coming from is I don't want to stay in anger, or I don't want to create from anger. I'm assuming are we on track here?
Mine was when I'm in a good place, and it'll be something like really minor that'll kind of like just agitate me or irritate me.
Yeah.
And I kind of notice really quickly that my body is vibrating intensely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like egging me on or telling me to stop what I'm doing, because it gets more intense than on the positive.
All right, cool. So I'm going to start asking you questions here as a tool, right? We're not going to get into specifics because I want to look at this as a general scenario, okay? So it doesn't have, you don't have to mention this person or, the details of the event so much, but we're going to look at it as that was a catalyst to put you for you to have this experience, so we can get a bit more skilled in maneuvering and tuning in. So I know you've been moving a lot of energy around and doing a lot of changes, and when that happens, typically you're going to become more sensitive. And so in this situation, whatever it was it something that normally upset you, or is it something that has recently upset you that you weren't upset by before? Or is it something that you've become aware of that has always pissed you off, but only now you're acknowledging it and expressing that that's what's happening?
In this case, in the last few times this has happened, it's been something totally new.
Something totally new.
Yeah.
Like a total new experience, and it's upset you.
Yeah, just something like out of the blue that came out of the air, and it just kind of like agitated me.
Yeah. And so have you ever been agitated by something similar to this before? Or is it a totally new agitation?
It was a totally new type of agitation, new experience.
And was there danger involved in this situation?
No danger at all, no.
No. So how do you know what triggered you into that feeling?
Maybe just the fact that maybe I wasn't being heard or listened to, or maybe along those terms.
Okay.
Or I wasn't being understood.
Right. And that's what agitated you. So it was a new scenario, a new situation, but is it a pattern that's happened before where you haven't felt understood or listened to and you got angry?
I guess we can kind of say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a new situation, but I guess when I tend not to be heard or listened to or understood, I guess I can get really frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sense to you?
Oh yeah, I've had that too. Like I said, I don't think anyone's immune to this. So it was interesting because I heard something about, you know, the need to be understood, and it was interesting because it wasn't actually the need to be understood, because no one can really understand you from your point of view, right? Everyone's going to have slightly a distorted view of what you're trying to express from your point of view. It's never going to match up. But maybe it's what we're looking for is the connectedness, and we're not feeling connected when people aren't matching us where we're at. But is it, what I want to know is now that you're, you know, tuning into yourself more and you're learning more about yourself, you're becoming more empowered, these moments of being misunderstood, although they might not be a big event, are they more intense for you? Are they more like, this is really, I'm intolerant to this stuff now? Or is it something else?
I think overall, in general, as a person, I am very passive, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Just easy going, just kind of go with the flow. But there are those moments where I do get a little frustrated when I feel like I can't get the proper words out of my mouth to tell you how I feel, kind of thing.
Yeah. And do you think that's from a point of not being able to articulate, or more that you're self-censoring because of the reaction you're expecting that you don't want to deal with or not sure how to deal with?
I think it's a combination of both, actually. How to articulate, and then also how to deal with the particular situation as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, remember, there's a lot more going on than just the words that are being spoken. There's an energy transfer. There's your body language. You know, there's all these micro behaviors going on. You know, a simple look can tell someone what you want or what your intention is. Like, I used to know this guy who was a bouncer at a nightclub, and if he didn't want you, you know, to do something, he'd just give you this look, and you'd be like, oh, okay, you know. So
right.
I know for me, when I've been going through this sort of thing, and like I said, no one's immune. I think we're all dealing at it in different levels in our own way, or maybe at the exact same level with totally different scenarios that appear totally different. Maybe they're not that different, but if we look at it from an objective point of view, like if we get out of our body and look at it from like holding the camera and observing it, without the emotions aside, I want to ask you if it's, you know, going beyond the articulation and how the response is coming and maybe not sure how to deal with that, is there a level of mind that you can move to, or a potential level of mind that you can move to, that does express very clearly and does know how to deal with the responses that you're not comfortable with? And if so, how would you be different if you could embody that?
That's a very deep question there.
Yeah, and so these are.
So I know in the past. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, this is the real value of the Q&A. It's not about knowing the answer as such. It's about, see, with these questions, they push the mind into a certain space, And at first, it's like, oh, I wouldn't even know how to answer that. But that's really good, because the mind that we're talking about that knows how to do that, articulate, and how to deal with the situation in a way that you maybe are not, you've never seen before. Once you go into that unknown space, you're going to start searching for what that is. And so if we set up the questions right, without blurting out and saying this is the story and this is the details, you can start to get a little bit of a picture inside the mind of like, okay, well, this is me supposedly not articulating and not dealing with the reaction. And this is what a potential may be of someone, me doing this, even though I'm not sure what that is. But then you start to see this gap in the middle and connections start to form, and then energy starts to move into that, and the mind will start to construct what that may or may not look like, and then you start to form something that's new. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it starts to give you momentum towards the solution that's already there that we're not perceiving. So
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So if we can just start throwing darts at the wall and brainstorming and throwing mud on the wall, then using questions, it'll lead you to the answer that's already there that maybe we can't see because we're looking in the wrong direction or there's no light on there. And so what we're trying to do now is move past the mind that is asking the question and into the parts of the mind where the answer is already there. And so this is an exercise I do with myself for certain things when I remember, right? And this is why once you know this skill, at least this technique, you can apply it in any which way you want because it's sort of a generalized tool. And then this is when you don't really need the teacher anymore, because if you know how to look at things and construct the right questions to probe the brain in certain ways and move it here and there, then it'll create the answer, or the answer's already there. So let's frame it and start to play with it. So in the past, the story or the perception is, and I may be wrong, you can tune it up with me, is that I'm misunderstood, I don't articulate well, and people react in ways I'm not sure how to deal with. Okay, let's say that's one way of looking at it. Mm-hmm. And then we go, all right, I do articulate really well. People get it, even though they may not admit that they get it, right? For whatever motivations they have. And there's a whole area we can look into there. So just let's mark that. And then here you've got, I can't control people's reactions to what I say, whether they understand me or not. But there are new ways that I would like to deal with the response, and I would like to deal with them in these ways. So which ways would you like to be able to deal with responses that typically are uncomfortable? Don't worry about how to do them yet. How would you like to be responding?
Just in a more calm fashion, and trying to come from an understanding of maybe their point of view as well. Mm-hmm. You know, and trying to figure out where they're coming from so I can maybe explain myself better.
Okay, pause there. Do you already know where they're coming from, sort of intuitively?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you know whether they're coming from a place that's supporting you or trying to tear you down?
Yeah, I've been able to kind of decipher that now.
You can even kids pick this up. Dogs pick this up. You know, it's just because we're trying to put it into our identity of, oh, I'm a nice person and I'm a good person and I want to help people, we sometimes ignore that, even though, you know, like for example, for me, I got a text message just yesterday challenging me, and it seemed very innocent if you're looking at the words, but the energy that was coming through this was like, I'm going to challenge you, I'm going to pick you apart, I'm going to tear you down, you better have the right answer. If you don't have the right answer, I'm going to tear that down. I'm just going to bring you down until there's nothing left, right? And then I can stand up like this, you know, and wipe you to the side and move on to the next victim, right? It's like, no, that's, you know, when someone's doing that, and you know when someone's asking you questions to get you expanded, right, and to support you, you know the difference. And sometimes, you know, there's a bit of gray area there, and you can choose where your tolerance level is within that. Okay, sometimes, like I've had teachers that they bring you right onto the edge of, I'm going to tear you down, but really they're saying, no, you know, you can go through this, it's fine. You know, it's like the martial artist that pulls the punch just, you know, an inch before your nose to let you know where the gaps are. Okay.
Right.
But you know, I mean, I know that, you know, you're a sensitive guy, and I mean sensitive as in intuitive, empathic, right? So you know. Where were we just before that? And so how would you like to respond? Like, you know whether they're doing that or not. And so I'm thinking this is more of when the tearing down, how you want to respond better when they're tearing you down. Is that correct? Or both?
Yeah.
Okay, so when
You froze on me.
when someone's doing that, how would you like to be in that situation? How would you like to respond or not respond?
It's just being really in control of my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can also tend to let my emotions take hold, and it's not so much the negative emotions. A lot of times, it's the real sensitive emotions that will get a hold of me.
Which ones do you mean?
Like coming from more of a place of love, and I can just. There's been times where I've been in a conversation, and the love factor will just start to come out, and I feel my heart pumping. And at times I didn't really know what that was, you know, in the past, but now I'm starting to get more of it's more of a love that wants to come through and it wants to take over.
So that,
does that you understand what that means?
Yeah. So that surge of energy. I mean, at first, does it feel like it might be anger, the rush?
Yeah, at first it does kind of feel that way.
Yeah. And so, like, if you were to respond from that level emotionally, what would the scenario be like? What would an angry Abel response sound like to someone trying to do that to them, to you?
So the angry person, the angry Abel, he would just become really incoherent, not listen to anything you would say, and just kind of like storm, you know, and just let his emotions take over. But this new person that's coming through is more on the loving side. And sometimes it's really difficult to deal with that when it's not really a loving situation, you know what I mean? But I want to smear them with the love so they'll calm down.
All right, there's 2 points there I want to really, that I can see. And I don't want to forget either of them because they're a little vague, but they're really good if we can nail them down. One is when you get angry, or your identity, your character gets angry in that moment, and you get incoherent and that sort of thing, is that you self-censoring yourself so you don't like use unproportional force or reaction? Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't want to go
Yeah, I
hulking
think it is
out.
part of self-centering.
Sorry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. I have been noticing that.
And so it's not like, oh, this person's doing this to me. It's like, I'm doing this to me so I don't hurt this person.
Hmm.
Is it like that?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, I'm fighting with myself so I don't fight with you. So I'm going to turn my sharp mind
Hmm.
off. I'm going to make myself incoherent because I've got a silver tongue that will cut pieces off you if I let it go. And and even if I could mop the floor with you, you're tearing me down, asshole personality. I'm not. I will feel bad because I couldn't control myself, even though I know you can't help yourself. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm wrong, you say so. If I'm off, you tell me.
No, you're right on track.
Okay, cool. So there's that aspect. I want to just, if you can keep that in mind, and because we might want to do more there. And the other side was some people, their whole intention is to just drag you down, okay? And you can pour love on them, and yes, they might blossom and come out of it, but it's not your job, okay? It's their job, it's their responsibility to step out of that. And sometimes whatever they've been through, whatever their story is, whatever their motivations, which we can probably figure out pretty quickly and identify and pick up on empathically. Just like
Hmm.
when a bullies, you see kids bullying each other, and you know that that kid has probably had a hard time at home, and you know feeling really empowered, so he's got to go bully someone else to feel empowered, and that's his way of finding some sort of relief from whatever's going in his head, right? You can see all that stuff. And just because adults are doing it, it's more sophisticated, and there's no laws against it because it's kind of invisible, right? It's not like when you go and smack somebody, it's obvious, you've got a bruised cheek, whatever, and then you can do something about it, and society says you're not allowed to do that, or else there's these consequences. When it's verbal or emotional, it's really hard to prove. It's really hard to quantify the effect of that and the ripple effect of that. And so, from an empathic point of view, I know I can get upset about that too when I see that happening. I'm like, why are you doing this? This is unfair. This is unjust. Why is this? Why are you doing this? Can't you see a better way? Right. And then the loving part is like, hey, I'm going to show you that there's a better way. But while you're trying to do that, some people just have this track. They're just out to get whatever it is they want out of you. And they're going to ignore all that and clamp down on that until, they feel satisfied that they've had their go at you, right? Does that make sense? Have you
Hmm.
experienced anything
Yeah.
similar?
Yeah, just recently I was dealing with some issues, business issues, where people were trying to take advantage of me, and I had to call a meeting and to get my point across. And at the end of the day, I still felt like it wasn't satisfactory. But at the same time, I need to let it go because it'll start to consume
Yeah,
me.
yeah. And that's the thing, especially when it gets to business. Sometimes those things aren't there. You know, these little digs at you, they're not even there for you to resolve. They're just there to put you off your game, or distract you, or use up a resource, or get you thinking in a way that you normally wouldn't, right? The whole point, it's like, I went to
Mm-hmm.
my first football game today here in LA, and both teams want to win, right? I went to see the Rams and the Chargers, and they're both wanting to win. And sometimes it gets a little heated, and there's a penalty. There's holding penalties and stuff, and that they do that
Yeah.
not because they know the rules. They're professional footballers, right? They've been athletes since they were peewees, all the way through college, everything, and now they're playing in the big league. They know what's a penalty and what a penalty isn't. But in the big picture, sometimes it's like, well, the cost of the penalty over the cost of you scoring against me is, the return on my investment is better if I just foul you, right? And so, especially in business, business is a crazy game where the field is the whole world, and the rules seem to never end, and the levels seem to never end, and the strategies of how to pick each other apart, seem rampant. And some people play their life that way, like a win
Mm-hmm.
some, lose some, and like it's a war. And then other people, who see a higher ground, are like, hey, if we could just get along, we can all win, right? Because there's plenty of plenty for everyone. But it's a totally different mindset, right? And so sometimes, although I was hoping to talk about this with Erin today on the live feed, but for whatever reason it happened, is that
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, I saw you on there too. And so there's these two games going on. One is that, good versus bad, plus minus, win some, lose some. And that's its own band and frequency. And then up here, you've got win-win for everybody, right? And now, but it takes a lot, in my mind at least, it takes a lot more skill to stay up here, because, sometimes you're really tempted to just take the win over this person down here, right? It's easier than coming up here and thinking a solution where everybody gets what they want. It's just easy. Oh, I can just cut a corner here. I can just foul this guy and take it, right? And the whole world's been going through this, on various levels. But there's another level emerging. And so I know for me personally, the frustration comes in when you get sucked back down into this game. When you're up here riding this beautiful frequency, this, high flying disc, I've heard it called, and then you get pulled back down here because someone wants to play the win some, lose some game with you. And you're like, man, I'm not even playing that game. Why are you dragging me down here? That's pissing me off. I'm insulted now, right? So I get that feeling if I'm on track. Is that similar to what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So the temptation is to go into that game like, I'm just going to play the game. You want to play the game? I'll play the game. I'll show you how this game's played, right? And you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You can do that because a lot of people are playing that, and we're in this, infinite potential. It's up to you what level you want to play on, right? But I think what we're trying to do here is recognize when you're getting entangled, when someone tries to ensnare you in something, and go, all right, I know how to release myself from this and get back in there really, really well. Because sometimes you can get out really quickly, and other times you're in it for hours, and even when you get out of it, you're still spinning on it hours later, and then the next day, and you're like wrestling with all this crap. You're like, someone just came and vomited on you. It's like, oh man, I just got this. I just got my suit out of the dry cleaner, and here we go again. Right? Are we on track with all this?
Yeah, we're on track.
All right. So then it's more about, it's not like what's happening. It's like, what's happening. It's like, okay, when it happens, now that I know what's happening, what can we do to get back up there, right? Or, how do we play the game in a different way that I don't feel bad about playing it, right? Because both are okay, just decides on, it just depends on what you want to do. Because you can turn into the kingpin of whatever that industry is, and you can take it over if that's what you really want to do, right? But maybe it's not, maybe you're not interested, maybe you don't care, maybe you'd rather be playing a different level. So
yeah.
So what is it? What is it for you? Like, do you want to be better down here? Do you want to stay up here? Do you want to be able to move up and down? What is it that you want? Because that's important to know.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I feel like I just want to be able, when I do come down to that negative state of mind, which I'm already recognizing really quickly, but just how to get back there really, really quickly as well.
All right. So the other thing I'll say is, don't get caught in beating yourself up when you don't get back up. Okay. Sometimes, especially when you're going, when you're expanding, you're going into the big league, so to speak. We'll use football, right? So you go from club league to college, and then from college you're in the pro league, right? You're in the big game. And sometimes the things you're dealing with now, although on a 3D level they seem like nothing, on an energetic level they might have a lot more behind them than you realize. They might just be this precursor to a bigger event, right? Especially in business. Someone sends you a nasty email, that can escalate all the way out to you losing your home, right? That. So it's like, although whereas if someone was on your kid's social media saying, oh, I don't like your face, you'd just be like that's peewees, that's nothing, who cares? But in the big leagues, there's a lot more energy and a lot more weight behind it. Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go.
I just want to kind of make another point here. Even as I'm sitting here talking to you, and I started telling you some of these emotions, what's going on right now is there's this big, massive amount of energy swirling around my head. And it's not really so much uncomfortable, but it's there, and it's like a lot of tingling going on. And so I've been really trying to make sense of all, a lot of the vibrations that I've been experiencing, a lot of the energy. And
well, could it be that you're realizing that your energy is a lot bigger than you thought it was, and it has a lot more influence than what you allowed yourself to believe? And maybe at that unconscious level, you already know all this, but when someone ticks you off, that if you go into a free-for-all rage, that maybe your mind, like in what was that old Stephen King movie? with the little girl, the fire starter, that something bad's going to happen that you can't control, and you don't want to do that, right? And we know that we're getting into this energetic level. We know that our thoughts and our emotions have an effect, and so we're, at least in the beginning, we're a lot more careful about making these movements. It's a bit like, you start, you move up the scales from riding a bike to driving a car to driving a van, and then driving a truck, and then maybe you go up to a semi-trailer, and then you go out to these B doubles, these road trains. It's still driving, right? It's still driving, but the amount of focus that it takes and calculating and planning grows massively. In a car, if you sort of half asleep and a dog pulls out on the road, you can swerve and miss it. If you're in a road train that's fully loaded with like 80 tons, and you can't swerve because it's a disaster, right? You know this. So, when we're making these adjustments, and I know you've been making a lot of adjustments, so there's a lot of recalibrating going on for you. Yeah. And is there this?
Yeah, definitely.
And now I'm going to go a bit deeper here and like poke you a little bit. Is that
okay?
And so let me know. You just tell me to back off whenever you like. But is there an unconscious fear of stepping in and owning that new level of energy and getting in the driver's seat of it?
I wouldn't say there's a fear there. I think for me, it's just more of like, what is it? How can I better manage it? So this is just really all new to me, and I can't really put it into words, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid at all. I'm more excited than the fear.
Yeah.
But I am noticing that those little subtle changes and the recalibrating, and it's been quite a bit of an experience at times. And Rebecca's been watching me progress through a lot of these things, and so I'm also being her teacher as well in the journey.
And so, I mean, this has come up a few times, and I've almost heard you say the same thing, but it's like, where do we go now from here? Like, what's going to give you more clarity, do you think? What's going to help you? What's going to help you to understand what's happening better? Or what is it that you're not understanding?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like my major stuck point right at this point, is just learning how to deal with this new level of consciousness.
And it's interesting because while most people are trying to get there, this is like it's happening to you and you're having to make sense of it, right? So it's not like, you can't even say, oh, am I hallucinating this? Because you're actually having experiences and feelings, right? And you're seeing it unfold in your life and effects of it. Is that right? Okay, so it's like,
yes,
this is no joke now. This is actually happening. So what is it that's happening?
Yeah.
And so this is where questioning comes in, to get clarity and direct you towards the answers that are sort of maybe you're still unpacking. And so have you got a clear picture of who you were before you started having these experiences and who you are at the moment?
Yeah.
And what is it that's changed?
Yeah, that's kind of come to fruition as well.
Sorry?
Repeat that last sentence.
What is it?
What is it
that's changed? Like, can you articulate what's changed? or can you at least point towards what's changed?
I'm not so shy anymore, I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more eager to try new things, step way outside of my comfort zone, communicate. My communication has gone through the roof,
Yeah.
I believe.
No, I definitely confirm that.
I'd like to think it does, but there are times where I feel like I kind of step back and I'm still a little bit reserved.
Yeah.
Definitely not the same person I was, so many months back.
Is that part of the frustration? Is that you want more, but you're not sure how to let it in?
That might be.
Yeah. Well, slowly catch the monkey.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah.
And I don't want to like back you off from eagerness. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to, let you off the hook. Man, I know what you mean, because there's a lot that it's like it's in your field. It's showing up in your reality. You can taste it, but you're just not sure if you can lean in and act and embody it sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But think about it, right? How long have you been on this journey? I hate using that word, but it's the most, easy to recognize. It's only been like, what, a year less?
Right.
Well, at least with me, it's been less than a year. I know you'd been on this before you met me, and you've been doing a lot before that.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've known you, it's only been a really short time. Really.
Yeah, a short time.
And so, can you let yourself off the hook a little bit, and can you, soften things a little bit and give yourself a bit of a pat on the back and go, hey, I'm doing pretty damn good?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I've been studying just so much and trying to gather so much information that recently I just started like putting that to the side for a minute and just sitting down and just watching a movie and break my mind from all the knowledge I've been learning, and just take a breather and take a break, because it's been really overwhelming at times. But at the same time, I want to know so I can grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't devour enough information, it feels like.
Are you getting to that point where, it's like you're chewing through books? It's like, it's all the same. Like, where's that next piece? It's like, it's all sounding the same to me. Everyone's saying the same stuff. I'm past that
right.
now. The next bit. No one seems to know where it is.
Yeah. It's fun. That's exactly where I'm at right now. Everybody is sounding the same. I'm just hearing it in different ways now. And it's like, oh, that's what he was talking about 6 months ago when I read this book.
Yeah. And now you know. Yeah.
Yeah, now I know.
Now you know. Yeah. And so, yeah, oh man, this is a whole new area, but it's a good one. And I mean, I don't want to go over time if you need to do stuff, but if we can, I don't mind going a little bit over time.
No, I'm okay with time if you're okay with it.
So
yeah,
it's kind of like, the professional soldier that comes home and there's no war. It's like, what do you do now? Like, I've spent my whole life seeking. I've spent my life training. I've spent my life learning and teaching myself all these things, and I've gone through all these trials and tribulations, and now it's like everything seems to be talking about what I've just experienced all these years. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that statement. Yes,
all right.
100%.
So that was all like leading up to this moment, right? That's all beginner level to here. And now it's like you graduate, right? Like, school's out, war's over.
Yeah.
You know, I've been kicked out of the monastery. There's nothing here left for me to learn in here. You know, it's time for me to go out into the world or back into my life and really tune into me now, because I know what I know, you know? And just
Hmm.
because other people don't know what I know, or they don't see that I know, it doesn't mean, it can't take that knowingness away from me. It's there. It's who I am now. It's part of who I am now. And so it's like, all right, you're on the leading edge of your life. You're the master of your
Hmm.
life now. You know, and the responsibility and the burden of being a master is that you've got to make up your own mind, because you know now. You've got the playbook in there. You know, you're calling the shots. And it's not like, it's not an obligation. You know, it's not, oh, I have to carry the torch further now. It's like, well, you know, it's almost like, that time in a man's life where he sees eye to eye with his father for the first time. He sees him as just another man. It's like, okay, it's the best day and the worst day of my life, because I've always wanted to be up there and surpass my dad, and that's what he's pushed me my whole life to do. You know, prepare me for the world. That's the father's role. But now that I'm there, holy shit, I can't go to him for counsel anymore, because I know what he knows. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you are your own master now. You know, it's like, what do you want to do? What do you think? When that energy is moving in your body, what does it mean? You tell me what it means. You know what it means.
Right.
You tell me what it means right now. Tell me what it means, because you know. What does it really mean? And don't put it into anyone else's
Let me
box.
consult with my guru. Hold on.
Sorry? What's that?
I was saying, let me consult with my guru and I'll get right back to you. Hold on one
Yeah.
second.
You don't need a guru. You're your own guru, right?
You know, it's just, yeah, it's just weird when you say it, when you put it in those terms, because so many things have been happening. And even Rebecca's noticed, you know, my wife Rebecca is noticing all of these changes and all of these things coming to fruition. And it's like, okay, now how do I hone in on that and do it on purpose? Because I feel like I'm doing this by accident.
Yeah, but that's awesome, because you're doing it unconsciously. It means it's all wired
Right.
in. You're doing it without even knowing you're doing it, which means it's there. It's trained in. It's
Mm-hmm.
done. You know, that's like training in the bag, doing all the movements, martial art, years and years and years. And you know what? It's like, you go to another teacher and they're the same sort of thing. And you go to, okay, maybe this is not the greatest school. You go to another school, it's the same sort of thing. And then one day you're out and someone tries to pick your pocket or whatever, and your body just does it. And you're not, and what just happened? It's all wired in, it's all trained in, it's
Yeah.
all there. So now it's like, all right, the work's done internally to this degree at least, right? Which is a pretty good degree,
Okay.
you know, it's above what most people would do. It's more than what most people would go to. So now what do I want to do with it? What do you want to do with it? And, you know, this is sort of like, you know, when you actually step into this and you start leading and going, no, this is how, everyone's like, what if we do this? What if we do that? And you already know, you can see the projection out into the timeline. You know where that goes, and you know that this is the way to go, even though no one sees it. And you go, no, this is what we need to do. And you know people are going to have a reaction to that. because they're caught up in their, habits and their belief systems and their addictive behaviors toward, and you're then worried that they're not going to be able to, who are they going to be in that? But you're like, no, this is where we need to go. So I'm going to poke you again, come back to this. Or if you tell me in your own words, however you want to say it, because you're a master at this, what's going on with all this energy? Actually, let's do it this way. Abel, you're the man and you know this better than anyone. I'm having all this energy go through my body. Mm-hmm. What do I do? What does it mean? You tell me.
Well, Brit, since you have all this energy going on in your body, you're connected.
Is that what it means?
You're connected to the source. You're connected to the source, Brit.
Yeah.
You can't go back. You can't go backwards anymore.
And I wouldn't want to. Because I've been there already.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. I want to know what you think.
That's all I got.
All right. So what do I do with it now? What can I do with it? Now that I've got it, what do I do with it?
What do you want to do with it? Yeah. What do you want to do with it?
Well,
but this heat is burning up over here.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, my seat is really on fire.
What does that mean?
I'm in the hot seat.
Yeah, but it's good. You got good stuff. I mean, we want to see it.
You don't
have to show it.
Yeah, you really poked me, and you really just been bringing a lot of things to surface and making a lot of sense. It's just I feel like I'm not ready to talk, teach it and speak of it. I feel like I'm still like this little kid just like learning, and it's never enough. But no, you're absolutely right. I am my own master, and yeah, it just takes some more time.
It's as much as you want, right? Take all the time. Take all the time. Take all the timelines. You know what pace you need to be going at. Right? I keep saying this to everyone. Your own pace, in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try and mold yourself into someone else's idea of how it should be. Because it works for them, great. Because it's them, it's their life, it's how they think, it's their story, it's where they want to go. Right. But from you, look, let's be honest. Unless I'm the only one having this experience, is that the only real 3D perception I have of this reality is through my eyes. That's it. Everything else I'm hallucinating. I can pretend to be you and imagine what life would be like from your point of view, but it's a hallucination. It's a construction of my imagination. I will never actually know unless I can project my consciousness inside you and look out, but then I'd be you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you said before you're like the little kid and it's never enough and you learn. That is a beautiful state to be in. That's the learning state, right? And to me, that's a master's. Mm-hmm. That's what a master does. Is they go into that learning state. They're a student, but they're a student of themselves now, of their own life. They're They're not trying to be like a Buddha or a Jesus, or, you know, these are great examples. These are good role models. But like going back to football, you know, we're watching these kids, the little kids come out at halftime and play, and they want to be like whoever, you know, they want to be like whoever's playing today, their hero. But there'll be a day when they're in that role and they become the guy, right? It's like, I'm sure LeBron James admired Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and all those guys, but now he's the guy. You know, he's the one that he is the person that he wanted to be. And when that matches up, it's like, whoa, hang on a second. I'm actually that guy that I've been aspiring to be. That's like, whoa, how do I deal with that? How do I relax into that? How do I really live as that? You know, I know that because I know I'm going to ruffle feathers. You know, I'm going to unbalance people. People aren't going to like it all the time. Some people, no matter what I do, no matter how loving, no matter how great, no matter how wise, their whole mission in life from their point of view is going to be to make me not believe that I'm there. Right? And their whole thing is just, their whole job, like, you know, if you're on the field, their whole job is to interfere with me so I don't score the goal. You know, that's their role. And it's like, well, okay, I'm just going to accept that that's there because that's part of the game. Yeah. But now that I know that, I'm not going to get upset over it. I'm going to see what I can do with it. So, give you an example. When I was playing sport back home, I was playing roller hockey, and I was one of those threats. You know, I was a goal scorer, and there would be times, you know, it didn't happen straight away, but there was a point into my sporting career, even though, you know, Australia is not really big on professional sport unless it's football, tennis, swimming, rugby, you know. But if you play anything else, there's not much following, not much support. But anyway, there was a point there where the opposition, and first it was one or two teams, but then it was like every game, they would assign one player just to follow me around and annoy me, just trying to throw me off my game any which way. Because every time I didn't score a goal, there was an opportunity for them to score one and maybe, you know, win the game. And so this drove me mental because it was like I just had these leeches hanging off me all the time. And I was like, what do I do? So I couldn't figure out what to do. And it was really bothering me. I knew there was something I wanted to, I didn't just want them off me. I wanted to be able to use it. I wanted to be able to go, all right, you want to play that game? I've got something else that I can throw in there, right? To still use that to my advantage, because there's always an advantage there somewhere if you can find it. And so I went to a guy who was like, he played European roller hockey with the curved stick and the roller skates. Very similar sport, slightly different discipline. And he was like Maradona back in Chile. He was huge. Like he owned the roller rink, and 20 years later he'd still go back home and people would still stop him on the street, and you know, he's a big celebrity over there. And I'm saying, look, Renee, this guy, every time I play, I'm just getting these guys, you know, hanging off me. And it's not their best player matching me. Like, they just put a guy who would just annoy, he wasn't even a great player. They just put him on me. And it was almost insult to injury. And he said, oh, no, that's great. He said, it's great they're following you around. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, right now that's 1-to-1. So when he's on you, it's 3-on-3, right? Because it's 4-on-4 on the goalie. He said, but what happens when he's on you and you go stand next to one of their player? You said, no, you've got two on you, which means one of your teammates is free. And it opens up more opportunity. And then, so what he said, and that, guess what happens then? He said, your teammate scores a goal. And then they go, oh shit, we shouldn't have left that guy free when we've got two on Brit and he's not doing anything. He's just standing in the corner. And then what happens is they rush back over to defend the other team and they forget about you, and then you're free, and then you go score a goal. And they go, oh shit. And then they go back to you, following you around. And you go stand next. And then you just go through this cycle. And then eventually they're like, oh, we don't know what to do, right? Because nothing's working again for them. And so you just keep elevating your game, your strategy, your strategic awareness, your abilities, right? And so, you know, these little hangouts that we're having, I don't even know if you call them training sessions or webinar, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. This is, you know, it's a space for us to talk about this so we can come up with stuff to get us through, you know, because we're all going to get stuck somewhere because it's never ending. And when you get good at something, life pops you up to the next level and you get into these bigger and bigger scales. And, you know, when you get there, there's a new opponent, there's a new bully, there's a new, you know, but it's all there to just skill you up and keep evolving you. If it wasn't there, you'd just be bored. You'd be like sitting on the couch watching cable TV. There's nothing on. Like, who cares? You just go out of your mind. You need these sort of challenges to come up.
Yeah.
And you know that because you're a master, right? But when you get stuck, it's not a bad thing, because it's like, then, especially if you got a little team going, you come back and you go, hey, this is what's going on. It's bugging the shit out of me. It's like, I can't get this thing to work. I can't get in. You know, this code's driving me mental. And when you're in that group, and this is, you know, humbling and frustrating at the same time, is that because you start to build up this toolkit and repertoire, and then all of a sudden you say, I've got this problem. To you, it's this massive ordeal. And then someone goes, oh yeah, that's easy. Here's the answer. And you're like, oh God, is that it? So obvious now that I can see it. Right? And then you go away and start practicing it, and then it's yours. So you got that as well. And so when you're in these groups, and I had these groups forming back in Melbourne, Australia, years ago, where we'd meet and we'd do this together. And the leveling up that happens is so fast. And, you know, it's almost like you're not caring so much about manifesting money and cars and travel and all that sort of stuff, or whatever, what most people want. You're looking for that next little hack. You're looking for that next little tweak that gives you, you know, makes you a better player, for lack of a better term. You know, and it really, this is where the journey, you know, the journey, not the destination, saying comes in for me. Is that you start doing this for the sake of doing it, because that's what gives you that, like, yes, this is fun, you know. And so just to go a little bit further, when we started doing this in sport, we got really good, at least in our pond, where we were winning so much because we really thought about this stuff. We didn't just let it slide. We'd work it out. We'd video games, and we would watch them, and we'd watch ourselves, and we'd tweak each other. And I don't like to use the word critique, but we'd give each other really good reflections, honest reflections, and then help each other move through these areas. And then we got so good that we were just winning all the time. Like, you get into this winning state, this feeling of like, you just know you're going to have a good game. And even if you don't win, you don't care. And if you don't score a goal, you don't care. You're just going to have fun, because you're going to get something out of it for yourself that you're not extracting from anyone else. You're letting something unfold from yourself. And it was really weird because energetically we started to really tune in together, individually at first and then as a team. And then this new identity formed that you could sense but not really control. You could only sort of be part of, right? That would direct everyone like it was one mind. It was really amazing. It was like this mastermind team. And it was funny because our energy was so strong and so connected, and we worked out so many little details that most people just skip over or ignore or push away because it's the too hard basket, that we would show up to the place and the team that we're playing with would go, oh, like, and we'd know them because we'd see them every couple of weeks. We'd be friends with some of them not so friends. Like, what's going on? Like, oh God, we knew we were going to play you. No, we knew we were going to lose. Like, what are you talking about? We haven't even started the game yet. You know, and you can see that they're good players, right? But they had it in. They were already tuning into your energy that you were going to win, right? And so it's a really interesting place. But then what happened was is you're winning so much, and you turn up knowing you're going to win, and you turn up knowing the other team is knowing you're going to win, and then you're like, oh, where's the next challenge? You know, where's the next? Where's the other team that's going to give me something to work with? You know, and this is where you hear these stories of these great warriors who are looking for a glorious death in battle. It's like, who the hell out there can give me a glorious death? Because I've been through so many battles and vanquished so many enemies that now it's, you know, I'm sort of walking around like, what now? You vibing with any of this?
Oh yeah, it's making so much more sense.
But, you know, this us against them is not the only game in town, is what I'm saying. You know, it's not just about winning over somebody else. There's a new level of game in town. It's, well, how does everybody win? That takes a whole new dimension of thinking, and probably something that you've always been tuned into, at least on an empathic emotional level. It's like, all right, I already know this. I've tuned into this. I've tried to live my life like this. But now that I've got the skills and the tools, how am I really going to do this now? You know, because I'm at this place in my life now, and I may be putting words into your mouth I don't mean to, with all due respect, is that how do I synthesize all my experiences, all my knowledge now? And how do I live that as my truth? And I think that's a good question to ask. Something I ask all the time.
Yeah, that is a great question to ask.
Yeah. Because you know that if you can construct the question, your mind will start going towards the answer. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll be that guy. And that's the value of the question and answer. It's not like I've seen others out there, and I'm not trying to take anything away from people trying to do good. It's, you know, there's levels, you know. But a Q&A is not just about you asking me, the guru, a question and me giving you an answer and you going, oh, yeah, that sort of fits or it doesn't. You know, or me poking at you like, oh, you're not doing this right. You know, it's like you and I talking together about something that we both experience. How can we construct a question that's going to penetrate in there and give us access so we can own it, and then we can do something with it?
Right.
And so Q&A is a skill. Constructing questions is a skill. Because if you know, how many times you've been asked a question that just hits you like nail on the head? You're like, fuck, I really got nothing. I've got nothing, but now my mind's in the unknown, right? Like it just happened like that. Like,
Right.
you know, I'm thinking, I'm getting all intellectual, and bang, someone hits me with a question like, what the? Did someone get the license of that truck? And then it sends you spinning. Sends you spinning on the question. And then guess what? The brain is an answer seeking machine, and it will find the answer. That's what it does. You know, if you just give it the right conditions, time, space, meditation, exercise, you know, feed it right, and the
What's that?
answers come.
I noticed that when I ask you a question, well, I have asked you questions in the past. Maybe a day or so later, the answer pops up.
Yeah.
There's something I learned. Like, well, I think I should scratch it off Brett's list.
Right.
You just got answered.
Go to the next question. You know.
Right.
Yeah. And it's good, you know, it's good when we can both look at something and both ask questions. And it doesn't matter who gets the answer. It doesn't matter who comes up with the question. As long as we resolve whatever it is, you benefit, I benefit, whoever listens to this, whenever they listen to it, wherever they are, you know. And I think also normalizing it, because, like, you know, we're looking at, I'm looking at the self-help business industry, and a lot of it's very scripted. You know, and I look at it through a filter of a martial arts school, where it's a lot very systemized. These are the movements, these are the training, this is a practice, this is how you do it. But when you get into a fight, it's total improvisation, and if you're not able to free flow and adapt and just come up with stuff, and you know, it's not just about who's stronger or who's quicker. It's if I throw something at you that you've never seen before, you know, you're going to be spinning inside your mind on what just happened, how do I deal with that? Meanwhile, the next attack is coming and coming and coming, right? And so when we train like this, it's like, you know, like we turn up to Q&A. What do you want to work on? Like, what are we doing tonight? I don't know. I mean, I know lots we can do, but what's useful to us right now? How's this going to help us right now?
Yeah.
Because you don't need a lot of movements, a lot of tools. If you have that adaptable mind where you can switch and change and move and flow, and you know how to get into that, then, you know, they can have a million tools at their disposal. You only need one and it's over, you know, as the metaphor goes. Let's not get caught in the metaphor, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm getting the wind up signal. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and this is the other thing, just before we wrap up, Abel, is I don't want to push you and push you like into you backed in the corner, but because that's not useful for you or for me or for anyone. But to, you know, when we find that sort of middle ground space and work within that, within each other's limits, and maybe stretch here and there, but not all the time, you know, then growth happens really, really fast, and it's easy and it's fun. You know, it's not this ordeal or chore.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I'm going to hand it over to you, man. And is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to ask? What do you want to do? You know, where are we now with you?
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and say this. You know, it's really great to be around not so much like-minded people, but people that actually care about you and who have your best interest and who have your back. I just want to say thank you. because this community has given me that in trying to find some of these answers. And I really appreciate, you giving me that support. And I think what I want to do next is kind of go off what you were talking about maybe a few weeks back, about maybe start kicking in some doors and breaking into some new territory. That sounds really fun, and I think I'm up for that challenge.
Yeah, cool. I'd love to do that for sure. And yeah, so like where you want to go now. I think you've got a good idea of the map and where the edges are and where you'd like to explore into and where you're not so interested, and that's cool. So in the Q&As, like, let's work on questions that lead us into those areas, and
Okay.
you can take the lead in those parts, and I can come with you. I've got no problem exploring territory I haven't explored myself. All right. Well, that's not entirely true. Sometimes it scares the shit out of me, like everybody else. But I'm willing. I'm willing, right? And for me, it's not so much about, hey, let's go charging in there and see what happens. It's more like, okay, well, we know something's over there. How are we going to approach this? What are we going to do in there? How are we going to deal with what might be in there? And what are we going to do with it when we come out? So these are the questions that are useful. But yeah, I'm glad we've had this session, because I really wanted to dispel that whole I'm the teacher, they're the students. It's just, that's not it. That's not where it's at. I don't think it's ever been there. I think it's always been a distraction. It's been a honeypot to, some people need that in the beginning. I get that, but we don't stay there. We go beyond now, and we're gonna see what's out there, and together. Now, I think Erin's going to come into the fold too. I'll be excited to see who else comes in, because as this group expands, it's going to be really, really cool and useful. It's got to be useful. Philosophizing and fantasizing isn't. It's fun, but it's not always useful. Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Reach out if you need to, that, and yeah, in Q&A, let's hit me with some cool questions. Let's see where we go. Let's see what we can come up with.
All right.
Let's find some new movements together.
Sounds good.
All right, Abel. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you being here. I really do, and we'll see you soon.
Not a problem. I appreciate you as well.
All right, mate. Thank you. Bye.